evening. We're going to call our meeting to order for the May regular Board of Education meeting. We always start with the recitation of our vision statement. Every school will be a thriving school that prepares every student to graduate from high school, college, career, and community ready. We're going to start tonight with a resolution to recognize our departing student representative, Talia Richmond. Whereas Talia Richmond, a senior at West High School, has served as student representative to the Board of Education during the 23-24 academic year. Whereas the student representative is elected from the high school student body of MMSD and serves on the Student Senate. The student representative expresses the interests of students on the board in an advisory role. Whereas the MMSD Student Senate is composed of up to 8 voting representatives chosen from each high school, the student representative, and an alternate. It functions as a medium for communication among students from all Madison Metropolitan School District schools and programs, district administration, and the school board. Whereas Talia Richmond has demonstrated a commitment and advocacy for student voice. Through her role on the board, she has amplified students' interests and advanced MMSD's core values. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Madison Metropolitan School District Board of Education and the MMSD community recognizes and appreciate the work of Talia Richmond and the Student Senate. Be it further resolved, this statement be permanently imprinted in the Board of Education minutes for the meeting of May 20th, 2024. Congratulations, Talia. We would also like to express our appreciation for Megan Fernando, the alternate board representative. Megan could not be here this evening as she is currently taking part in the forum for the upcoming Student Senate President and Vice President elections for the 24-25 school year. Megan is currently running unopposed for Vice President and Board Representative. We are looking forward to working with her more closely in the 24-25 school year. We also have a few remembrances tonight, and I'm going to have President Pearson read a couple.
Thank you. We'd like to ask for a moment of silence this evening for our district to recognize the passing of Owen Peck, who was in 3rd grade at Olson Elementary School. Owen is remembered as a smiling, loving, and happy little boy. He has 2 siblings, Audra and Caleb, who love him immensely. Owen was so loved by all of his peers and staff at Olson. His classmates enjoyed eating lunch with him, pushing him in his wheelchair on the playground, reading stories to him. Owen's parents, Chelsea and Brian, are so thankful for all of the love and support surrounding Owen before his passing. Owen's passing has taken a significant toll on so many students and staff in Olson community, and we remember them tonight. Please join me in participating in a moment of silence in honor of Owen Peck. Thank you. We have another remembrance. We'd like to ask a moment of silence this evening for our district to recognize the passing of Ben Balgord, who was a technical education and engineering teacher at Senate Middle School. Ben is remembered as someone who was always helpful to students and staff at Senate by going above and beyond. He volunteered to cover many classes when subs were not available. He also volunteered to help out with Senate's overnight outdoor education experience, Upham Wood, engaging students in outdoor games of soccer, teaching outdoor classes, and helping out with skits and campfire songs. Ben's passing has taken a significant toll on so many students and staff in the Senate community, and we remember them tonight. Please join me in participating in a moment of silence in honor of Ben Balgord. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Pearson. We'd also like to ask for a moment of silence this evening for our district to acknowledge our neighbors in the Mount Horeb community. We expect our schools to be safe places for all students and staff to learn, teach, and work. And on May 1st, 2024, Mount Horeb experienced a horrific school crisis. Many of us felt anger, grief, anxiety, and sadness. Mount Horeb is a strong community, and we continue to send them healing and comforting thoughts during the ongoing recovery process. Please join me in participating in a moment of silence for Mount Horeb. Thank you. We'll now get ready to move into our public input. A summary of written registrations submitted from noon on Friday, May 17th until 3 p.m. on Monday, May 20th follows below. There were 6 written comments opposed to a proposed 0% cost of living adjustment increase for the 24-25 school year, 2 in support of an investigation of the Southside Elementary administration, 1 in support of adopting a more equitable emergency closure compensation policy that ensures compensation for all MMSD staff during emergency closures. Next, we will go to our online speakers. I believe we have 6, and then we'll come back to those who are registered for in-person.
Our first online speaker is Richard McGregory.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Richard McGregory. I am speaking tonight on
We
behalf of
can't
the
hear you.
education. Oh. All right. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you give it a try now?
Okay, can you hear me? How about now?
Yes, we got you now.
Okay. All right. Again, good evening, school board members. I'm Richard McGregory. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Education Committee of Blacks for Political and Social Action in Dane County about supporting and funding Goal 3 of the MMSD Strategic Framework. African American children and youth will excel in school. This discussion is part of our ongoing work to put a face on Black students in MMSD in response to students and families reporting feeling unseen by the district at our annual Black Parent Summits. In February, members of our group talked about F for financial. In March, members discussed A for academic. Last month, members discussed with you C for communication. And also we held our 2024 Black Parent Summit. This month, we are here to share the E for expectations in our FACE framework for you to consider as you move closer to your June vote on the 24-25 MMSD budget. First, I'd like to begin by thanking school board members, Board President Nichols and Board Vice President Pearson, who were able to join us at the Black Parent Summit in April. Also joining us were representatives for the Madison Public School Foundation MTI members, and several district administrators. We thank you for sending the message that you see us in our community as important. We look forward to having more discussions with you about aligning resources, programs, and policies around Goal 3 of the strategic framework. Last week, our nation celebrated the 70th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision, which overturned the legal premise of separate but equal set forth in the court's 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson ruling. While we celebrate this ruling, which, along with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, ended de jure segregation in public education and public accommodations, we know much work needs to be done to ensure all Americans receive the type of education which affords them equal protection under the law, as prescribed by the 14th Amendment, one of the 3 Freedom Amendments coming out of the Civil War. In particular, work still needs to be done in the state of Wisconsin, which led the nation in racial ethnic disparities in education on the 2022 NAEP reading and math exams. And work even needs to be done in MMSD, where the reading and math disparities on the Ford exam are often larger than the state's. We look forward to MMSD board members demonstrating their commitment to addressing these disparities in 24-25 by making continuous improvement in the following areas of expectation: reducing within school segregation, increasing the proportion of Black professionals in instructional positions, and improving climate study scores for Black students, staff, and families. We want to thank you for listening to us throughout this spring. We look forward to continuing to work with you on issues of shared interest and ensuring Black students and families feel seen and heard as they engage with MMSD. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next online speaker is Kirby Mack.
Good evening. My name is Kirby Mack, and I'm speaking on behalf of Blacks for Political and Social Action of Dane County Incorporated concerning Goal 3 as well, MMSD Strategic Framework, African American Children and Youth Excel in School. In recent months, we have appeared before this board requesting that action be taken with respect to our platform, namely FACE. We ask for financial considerations, academic improvement and accountability, C for communications and engagement with BPSADC. And today I'm here to talk about E, expectations. One of the goals we will continue to monitor and raise our voices concerning is the lack of representation of Black teachers in this school district. During our 2024 Black Parent Engagement Summit, this topic continues to represent an overarching concern expressed by Black parents and guardians. Studies show that Black students with Black teachers in early grades are more likely to graduate and pursue college. Just one Black teacher in grades 3 through 5 reduces dropout rates by 29% and increases college enrollment by 13%. 2 Black teachers boost college enrollment by significant 32%. This research highlights the power of representation. Black teachers serve as a positive role model, shows Black students' success is attainable. They can also provide culturally relevant teaching, fostering a sense of belonging and understanding. The research suggests that they don't just bring cultural competency to the table, they also bring quality. Black teachers, according to the research, are among the most qualified and produce quantifiable results for our students, but they remain the lowest paid. The impact extends beyond race. White students gain exposure to diverse perspectives, challenging racial biases, and promoting a more inclusive environment. Black teachers are essential for Black student success and contribute to a richer learning experience for all. Therefore, we are requesting that MMSD make a commitment to be intentional in the recruitment, hiring, and retention of Black teachers. As such, we understand Ms. Tracy Carradine, former HR director, that drafted a recruitment plan before her departure. We'd like to discuss how we can best utilize this document or develop a new plan to ensure a diverse candidate pool for hiring. We believe leading by example is a leadership style that involves setting an example through your own actions, behavior, and attitudes. In a school district that is 20%, almost 20% Black students, we remain concerned that its workforce generally does not represent and reflect this diversity. More of an effort needs to be made in the recruitment to retain Black and brown staff. We ask that you begin by hiring Black people in HR department. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gloria Hawkins.
Good evening. I'm Gloria Hawkins, a member of the Education Committee of Blacks for Political and Social Action in Dane County. I thank you, the school board members, for the opportunity to briefly speak this evening about the FACE framework that Blacks for Political and Social Action in Dane County has developed. This is our response to Goal 3 of MMSD's strategic framework. You've heard this evening from Dr. McGregory and from Ms. Mack. And I also am focusing on the E of the framework, FACE framework, which is expectations. According to 2022 data from the National Assessment of Education Progress, the state of Wisconsin had the largest educational disparities in the nation in elementary and middle school reading and math. Unfortunately, MMSD's achievement gaps on state reading and math assessments exceeded the state average. These disparities are exacerbated by the lack of access of Black and Brown students to rigorous curricula and co-curricular activities, as well as instructional role models who share similar backgrounds. This lack of access often makes students from historically excluded groups feel disengaged from the school environment and their education. Because of these findings, I joined Dr. McGregory and Ms. Mack, along with other members of the Educational Committee, to request to MMSD board members to make a commitment to address the following expectations for continuous improvement. They are to reduce within school segregation, increase the proportion of Black professionals in instructional positions, and also improve climate study scores for Black students, staff, and their families. I thank you for listening to us this evening, and we look forward to the possibility of working with you on issues of shared interest while ensuring Black students and their families feel seen and heard as they engage with MMSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next person is currently working on logging on. And then we also have one who is no longer able to speak this evening. But we'll share their comments via written statement, and our person just logged on. Our next speaker is Dominic Ledesma. Whenever you're ready, Dominic, we're ready to hear your statements. I think you're muted.
Unmuted now. I apologize, but I wanted to thank the board for allowing the opportunity to share some public comment and in support of agenda item 14.2, which is the vote to approve or renew the charter with Nuestro Mundo School. I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of Nuestro Mundo Inc., the board of directors. I serve as the board president, and I'm also joined by countless community members within the school who are excited to continue the great work that Nuestro Mundo has set out to do within our community. There's been a lot of work that's gone into working on this charter and setting up and getting it where it needed to be. And so we're all excited to extend the educational mission of Nuestro Mundo within Madison Metropolitan School District. So with that, I would just like to close to say that Nuestro Mundo is a wonderful school, and we would like to count on your support for approving the charter for the next 5 years. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. That's all the online speakers.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Okay, we're going to move into those of you who have registered to speak here in person. We have 25 of you who would like to speak. As a reminder, public comment is 3 minutes. When you come up to the podium, you'll see there's a clock up here that gives you a countdown. You also have a little box on the podium that gives you a yellow light when you have about 30 seconds left and a red light when your time is up. If you're just in the process of closing your thought and you're at time, I'll try to give you like an extra 20 seconds or so to finish up. But please be courteous of the number of speakers that we have tonight and try to stick to your 3 minutes, please. So first up, we have Jennifer Dorrell, and then following Jennifer will be Melinda Heinrichs. So Jennifer, if you want to come on up.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Dorrell. I am a reading interventionist at Kennedy School. We are thrilled with Kennedy's designation as a community school next year. This is going to lead to some big improvements for Kennedy families, and it increases equity in our district. Thank you. Continuing with that equity lens, I'd like to request that our district devote more attention to the ongoing substitute shortage. This year at Kennedy, there have been about 50 unfilled classroom or special area subbing positions that one of our non-classroom teachers has had to cancel groups to cover. Multiply that by 52 schools, and that is 2,600 times in our district this year when a substitute was needed and there was none. This is probably an underestimate. HR probably has exact numbers if you want to dig deeper. The impact of these vacancies is enormous. Student-facing support teachers are unable to work with their students because they are needed to sub. This has personal impacts on young children, as well as programming impacts on students whose lack of time with a support teacher can make additional testing or resources unavailable to them. Strategies to cover and the need to cover for lack of substitutes varies widely across our district. The lack of subs is forcing principals to make agonizing choices and is making our district less equitable. I'm here to request that we take a more proactive role here and begin by looking at the data across schools. If there are schools with higher unfilled substitute positions, tracking that over time and adjusting the subsystem to even out the burden would be a good start. Having a specific person take ownership of this issue district-wide, track the data, and work to improve it would be so helpful. I also encourage you to consider hiring a building sub for the 5 or 6 schools that have been most impacted by lack of substitutes. This would provide a consistent, familiar substitute who knows the school's daily routines and all the students. For a relatively small cost, our most vulnerable students would gain consistency in their support services, and everyone would feel the positive effects of having a familiar building sub they can count on when a teacher is out. At Kennedy, every day this year, we have had at least one unfilled position, so a building sub would have had an assignment every day. It might be easier to hire a full-time building sub with benefits than to recruit more substitutes. And building subs in 5 or 6 buildings would free up the regular substitute pool to work more frequently in the schools that don't have a building sub. Hiring building subs for the few most impacted buildings might even be paid for by the savings in substitute pay that was realized this year with those thousands of unfilled sub days. In each classroom across Madison, teachers accept, nurture, and educate whoever comes through their doors, even when students come with challenges that are beyond our control. We expect and need the same from our administration. Yes, we have a sub challenge, but that doesn't mean we accept it and admit defeat. Please keep working to provide every school with the substitutes they need to be successful. Thank you for your attention.
Come on up, Melinda, and then following Melinda will be Del Underbaki.
Good evening, everyone. Melinda Heinrichs. I'm president of the Madison Public Schools Foundation. 3 quick messages from the extended foundation family. First and foremost, a deep sense and message of gratitude and love for Interim Superintendent Lisa Quisted for your phenomenal partnership over the last year. And of course, we've worked together for many years prior to that. So thank you very much from all of us on your last meeting presiding with the Board of Education. Second, on Dr. Gothard's first day of his first full week from the foundation, we just want to welcome him. We look forward to working with his administration, the Board of Education this year and beyond. And lastly, every time I come to a Board of Ed meeting, there are at least 30+ public commentary, so I'm not coming again. No, I'm joking. But I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here, the people who are online, because we look forward to working with all of you on behalf of our kids in 2024, especially with November and the work ahead and beyond that. So thank you for all you do on behalf of our kids.
After Del, we'll have Rebecca G.
Tonight's agenda includes a review of our graduation policies. This discussion needs to address the disproportionate number of our students of color and students without intellectual disabilities who are prematurely being encouraged to accept certificates of graduation without reading proficiency. In 2022, less than 10% of our MMSD graduates identifying as Black and only 15% identifying as Hispanic accepted diplomas equipped with proficient levels of reading. Less than 5% of our students with disabilities accepted diplomas supported by proficiency. I'm waiting to add 2023 graduation statistics to this distressing accountability profile. The 2024 campaign season has kicked off with urgency, and many leaders are eager to connect with their constituency. Before starting discussions, I hand them a card with 4 things to keep in mind during our talk. What is the constitutional intent of a free public education? What are the consequences of credits earned without literacy? What are the consequences of high school diplomas being granted without achieving literacy? What is the value of a diploma that doesn't represent literacy? Up to this point, the responses have been clear. Workforce development voices say stop hemorrhaging illiteracy into our economy. There are no viable post-secondary pathways equipped to embrace and accommodate illiteracy. Employers and employment educators agree. Stop kicking the can of illiteracy down the road into post-secondary systems. Human service and criminal justice voices are struggling under the added weight of illiteracy in marginalized communities. Some district leaders attempt to justify graduate illiteracy as a feature of racial and cultural acceptance. Elected board representatives have shared, you know, Del, graduating with basic and below basic literacy is good enough for many kids. You try to tell a teenager to stay in school longer just because they can't read. Families are counting on a 4-year graduation party with their friends, whether literate or not. For any of you who harbor these thoughts, I know parents and leaders in our BIPOC community who are eager to have a conversation with you about these myths. Wisconsin Statute 118 commissions individual school boards the responsibility for students achieving the ability to read, write, and spell. Chapter 121 states students have a fundamental right to sound basic education. The literacy reform movement is gaining bipartisan traction. In Wisconsin, the trail of accountability leads to you as local school board members and your control over board policy. You have the power to make sure that every graduate steps into their future prepared with literacy they need for success. Step out from behind the shroud of earned credits and shine a light on literacy achievement in your graduation policy leadership. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Del. Okay, so actually I want to, before I, are you Rebecca? Yeah. Okay, before you come up, I just want to make sure I've got this right. So what I'm seeing on the registrations is that You're one of 16. One of 18. Okay, so there's a group of you that are planning to speak tonight. Okay, so in the past, sometimes when we've had groups that want to speak in a particular order, one of the things that I think can be confusing is if you all kind of stack the time and it's not always clear when one 3-minute period ends and another begins. So what I am going to ask is that if you finish like before your 3 minutes and you're ready for the next speaker, let me call the next speaker so it's clear that the time is starting for the next speaker. And then the other thing is, just as a reminder, that our public comments, we definitely are here to hear what you have to say. And just to also be mindful that if the public comments get down to a place of like naming individuals, like it becomes personnel related, that's not the best forum here, because Board of Education members could be called upon at a later time if there was another kind of a grievance or complaint. So just for context, so just to think about what all you all might be speaking about. And that's not to say we don't want to hear what you have to say, just kind of trying to put some context in, okay? So is everybody good? Still happy to call everybody in the order, and then we'll just try to make it clear when the clock is starting for each speaker. All right, so Rebecca G, and then we'll follow with, is it Grace Falk? Okay, thank you.
My name is Rebecca Greco. I was the librarian at Alice Elementary for 3.5 years. In the words of a current Southside staff member and parent, the move to Southdale Moreland was a hard-fought equity correction. To see students' lives so unprotected and disrupted is crushing. This evening, I am here with students, staff, and families from Southside Elementary School. Our primary concern is for the safety and well-being of current Southside students. Children attending Southside have a right to the legal and policy protections that allow educational access in a safe and respectful environment. We are here not only to speak to the board, we are here to give voice to students, families, and other community stakeholders who have suffered negative consequences under this school's leadership. Over the last 4 years, multiple stakeholders have filed complaints with district administration, including human resources, documenting a variety of serious concerns, formerly at Alice and now currently at Southside. District administrators have not taken corrective actions or addressed these issues. After individual efforts failed to draw sufficient attention to the concerns, on April 4th, 2024, a group of 24 current and former staff filed a 39-page complaint. A 7-page addendum was added on May 8th. The complaint highlights 33 board, employee handbook, and legal policy violations, including violation of students' rights to an equal education under the 14th Amendment, violation of students' IEPs, violation of district expectations, and violation of the district safety plan. After we discovered violations and noncompliance issues that put students, staff, and visitors' safety at risk, taking action was a moral imperative. Given the extent and severity of the legal and policy violations documented, the number of administrators named, documented patterns of retaliation for whistleblowing, and the district's inaction, we respectfully request that an impartial, independent investigator be named to conduct the investigation. Thank you.
All right, Grace, you're up, and then Jen Garthwaite, wait.
No, I'm not.
Dear Madison Public, we have been informed that concerns and the issues outlined in our extensive complaint surrounding Southside and Frank Alice administration and others is just about being Black. The formal complaint that we have shared with the district has nothing to do with race, as we have been led to believe. In part, this is why we are here tonight. We want to dispute any elements regarding racism and highlight only the spectrum of the complaint itself. One piece of the complaint surrounds misuse of authoritarian practices on many levels, such as covering up and ignoring and dismissing the most simplest of the elements of complaints. This appearance is quite concerning, especially when employees went out of their way to follow investigational procedures with the support of MTI to resolve these matters ahead of time. When these concerns were reported to HR and Upper Doyle administration, it went nowhere. Nothing happened. There's an optical phenomenon in which I call the blue wall wants all of us to believe that best practices are leading and guiding the active guardrails in their decision makings. But honestly, this is a very deceptive appearance. We are here today because of the dysfunction that's happening and the many wrongful practices, which unfortunately, it's becoming all to the social scary norm here at MMSD. I too want to request an independent investigator who is willing to comb through our complaint, everything again that we've already shared with administration here at Doyle. If the district believes that their actions were truly just and full of fairness and were procedurally in alignment with employee rights and the law, then there should be no opposition to having an outside investigator review our complaint. Some common things that we're concerned about are verbal abuse, the use of the N-word and the R-word used as reprimand, bullying practices with gag orders, and most egregiously and literally false allegations accusing staff of harming students. With 13 seconds to go, I'm just going to leave it at that. Our complaint should be made public if there's nothing to hide. And I suggest in my request that that be done.
Jen? Okay, and then following Jen will be, is it Noble Perez? Nobel, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jen Garthwaite, and I'm a Spanish BRS, having served all of my 15 years at Frank Alice and now Southside Elementary. I'm here to talk about how some students at Southside are being denied their rights to an education through the use of exclusionary practices. On Friday, May 17th, we celebrated the 70th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education decision, in which Supreme Court Chief Justice Earl Warren said in part, quote, "Education is a right which must be made available to all on equal terms," end quote. One of the exclusionary practices at Southside is the Walker Circle. This is a consequence that takes place outside during recess, in which the student must literally walk in a large circle while their classmates play. A certain number of minutes must be performed in accordance with the severity of the negative behavior, and the student's not allowed to talk to others during those minutes. Parents have complained that this is stigmatizing, but those concerns were dismissed by administration. It's important to mention that Walker's Circle is a violation of the district's wellness policy. Another way that Southside's administration is denying students access to equal education is through the misuse of buddy spaces. At Alice and now at Southside, children are regularly sent to a buddy room or buddy space as a consequence for inappropriate behavior, which for all intents and purposes is an in-school suspension. And children of color are disproportionately impacted by this exclusionary practice. Students spend days, weeks, and even months in a buddy space, which is several grade levels above or below the buddy student's grade level. One buddy space has even been in the main office with no other students present. In order to, quote, earn the right to return to their own classroom, which is a phrase used by Southside administration, The buddy student must achieve a predetermined number of days meeting certain behavior goals. The buddy student's homeroom teacher must prepare days and weeks of worksheets for the buddy student to work on in the buddy space. Even when the teacher receiving the buddy student tries to provide support, it is too much to manage in addition to the needs of their own class. So what ends up happening is that students in the buddy space spend a lot of time on their Chromebooks, they leave the buddy room without permission, they sit idly, or they fall asleep. The administration has not implemented a school-wide system like restorative justice to prevent repeated harmful behavior from occurring. Children of color who are disproportionately impacted by this exclusionary measure lose a significant amount of instructional time and are thus being denied access to an education, which is a violation of their rights under the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. Something must be done because the staff's and families' efforts to work collaboratively with the administration to change this exclusionary practice within the building have fallen on deaf ears. Students are being harmed, and they deserve access to their most basic right. This is why we're calling for an independent investigation. Thank you.
Nobel, after you will be Andrea Shorter Amos.
My name is Noel Marina Perez. I started working at Southside this school year. I have served this district for almost 2 decades, K through 12, as a BRS, a DLI classroom teacher, and now a bilingual resource teacher. Hear me when I say there is something very wrong at Southside with the climate and the culture there. We all know that neglect is a form of abuse. Neglect is thus the denial of rights. You've just heard my colleague talk about how students' rights to an equal education under the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause have been violated. Southside administration neglected to develop sound dual language practices. It has led to numbers of Black and Brown students who have not learned to read in one or both languages. These scholars have attended 3 school years or more and have yet to receive targeted instruction while adhering to best practices in biliteracy. All teachers at Southside work tirelessly, but are at the mercy of following often contradicting, disorganized, untimely, and misinformed practices from school-based leadership, which has failed the very scholars for whom this program was created for. This is a grave injustice. Southside's administration has neglected to create a stable and safe learning environment. With such a toxic workplace, it is only logical that constant and often abrupt changes in staff only serve to further aggravate the learning conditions of our already vulnerable student population who need and deserve the most stable learning environments to thrive. An environment where learning is disrupted and safety concerns are dismissed only leave our Black and Brown students and families disempowered. Never have I experienced the chaos and deterioration of a learning community as a result of incompetence paired with authoritarian and underhanded tactics until now. Predictably, Southside's administration mismanagement has led to an unhealthy level of staff turnover, affecting Black and Brown staff who have been undermined and traumatized as a result of the school-based leadership actions. MMSD has an obligation to ensure students' well-being and academic growth. I am here today as a taxpayer, as a voter, as your constituent, and supporter of our city's public schools. I beg you to intervene and right this wrong. Please support our request of getting an unbiased, outside, independent investigation. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrea Shorter Amos, and I am a parent of one of the kids at the Southside Elementary School. I'm coming to you guys because my daughter has a IEP, and I don't feel that her IEP needs are being met. If you have a kid with delays and you put these stipulations in front of them saying that they need to earn respect and they need to earn to get things back, are you entering that to them according to how they learn? They don't understand as much as they put before them to have them to earn these things back. Give them a chance to earn it back. I'm looking at them not being eligible to go on field trips. That's not fair if the field trips is months away and you got in trouble early on. That doesn't serve the kid at all. And it doesn't serve them with their IEPs. They're not being met because they're out of the school on the buddy, whatever the buddy space is. I don't agree with that as a mom. And I don't agree with not knowing when my kid is in a buddy's class. I wonder how much education is my kid losing if they're not having their needs met? How often are they in the buddy's class? I didn't know anything about that. And I feel like anything that has to do with my child, I want to know all about it. I want you to call me and let me know my kid had a disruptive day or that something happened to my kid. I have a kid that is in an MMSD program who wanted to commit suicide in elementary. That is unfair. As a mom, there is nothing a school board, district, or anyone could have told me that my kid came up missing, that she hurt herself because of the things that she go through at Southside. I've never endured such trauma for my kid. This kid can melt down and just feel so heartbroken every time she go to school and wish that I could just come and get her from school. That is unfair. It's unfair to me as a mother, a taxpayer, a voter, and it's unfair to my kid. And I'm here today to fight for her right. I'm here today because we're losing teachers. How can we push teachers away when we need them? We're short of staff and you're looking to push people away from the school that can support some of the kids. That's unfair. It's unjust. These kids are not being policed at school. They need to get an education. How do you turn them around and show them how they're supposed to be learning if you're catty yourself? That's not teaching the kids anything. So I stand before you today because I want my kids to have a better education from this day forward. And I look to you guys to step up for us. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kaviana. Is that right? And then following Kaviana will be Amber Cutter. Thank you for the correction.
My name is Kaviana. I have been bullied since third grade. My name is Kaviana Shorter. I have been bullied since third grade. My coat has been thrown in the garbage. I have been slapped. I was about to commit suicide to myself, and I have told teachers, and they haven't really did nothing about it. And I have went home sometime and told my mom. I haven't been comfortable to tell my mom about it because
She has to go there every day. I know it's hard for her to speak, and I can speak for her. She has to go there every day and deal with stuff every day. And that's unfair for her. That's unfair for you to look at her face and know that a kid, an elementary kid, is not comfortable with school. That's not right for the district to even hear that. And I'm sure this is not your only kid. So I hope you guys see this and do something. I mean, I just pray that you do something about it. All right.
Hello, my name is Amber Cutter. I'm speaking as a parent of a child that attends this school. We've had a lot of complications these last 2 years with no communication from administration. My child is continuously being threatened that graduation will be taken away from her due to situations coming to her, such as her being jumped in the school. Every time that I do call to try to get any type of communication, it's always, oh, she's not available, or nobody's here to take your call. You can leave a message. I do that. There's been numerous times that I've walked into the school due to not getting callbacks, and I've heard administration coming into the office cursing about children, cursing about staff. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. That there's things such as this walking circle that happens at this school that I feel like is unfair to these children. Also, there's punishments not being accordingly done. It's how does an 11-year-old get a month of community service, but also gets threatened continuously that her graduation is going to be taken away from her? She also is supposed to be in an IEP class that she has not been in. They have told me they don't have staff. They don't have enough staff. My daughter has also went to the school for the last 3 years, and 2 out of the 3 years, she has not had a teacher. It's been continuous subs. I ask my daughter every day, what does she learn? She continuously tells me nothing. Most of the days that she spends at school, she's either sitting in the hallway, she's sitting in the office, she's having to do this walking circle, or she spends a month at a time working in a kindergarten class. No 5th grade instructions at all. So I'm asking also as a parent, if you can please call for an investigation to be done at this school, because there's a lot of foul things going on. And that's really all I have to say.
Next, we have Maria Garrett, and then following Maria is Karen McDonald.
Good evening. My name is Maria Garrett, and I'm one of the 5th graders at Southside Elementary School. I've been at Southside since 3rd grade. I've not had a permanent classroom teacher for the past 2 years because the teachers have quit after the school year has started. It's been hard not having a permanent teacher, and I feel like my learning has been affected and things need to change. Every day I wake up and ask my mom if I could stay home. However, my mom makes me go to school because she knows that at least I'm getting a solid education. There's a number of reasons why I do not like my school. First, I've been put in a buddy room 3 times this year to do community service. Once it was for a month, second it was for a week, and the last was for 2 days. During community service, I'm in a buddy room or I'm in lunch cleaning up, picking up trash outside, or doing nothing at all. When I return to my classroom, I feel like I don't know anything or I don't know what's going on. I feel like the punishment does not fit the behavior. Second, I do not have a relationship with the principal. She consistently threatens me or takes away privileges from me. Over the last week, the principal has told me that I will not be going to my graduation ceremony. I feel like that I'm being targeted by my principal and that she has been out to get me. I do not have a relationship with my vice principal either. I try not to speak to her, and I do not like how Southside operates. The way my principal and my vice principal treats people, I'm glad to not be returning to Southside next year. Thank you for listening.
My name is Karen McDonald, and I teach at Hawthorne Elementary School. Last year, although a surplus did not exist, I was surplused from Alice, now Southside, by the administration at Southside. As previously mentioned, over the last 4 years, concerns about repeated violations of district policies and various federal laws and regulations have been brought to the district's administration's attention. To date, violations continue to pile up, and no corrective action has taken place to prevent future violations. This inaction clearly shows the unwillingness of the district to hold its own administrators accountable. I want to take the next few minutes to outline the discrepancy between how the administration treats its own employees and how they treat and protect their own administrators. Let's look at Employee Handbook 3.22, information technology use. The district social media policy states staff must avoid posting student information, pictures, work product exemplars on personal social media sites. In direct violation of that policy, the principal at Southside has posted student videos and pictures on TikTok and Facebook accounts. Here are some photos taken from her social media accounts. When this violation was brought to district administrators' attention, it took 2 emails in 5 days before the posts were effectively removed. Now, contrast this with what happened to rank and file employees who had students posted on their social media accounts. The employees were summoned to the office to meet with their supervisor with someone from employee relations teams. The employees were handed an investigation notice and were directed to remove the post immediately. In the following days, the employees were subjected to an investigation. In all cases, the employees were found to be in violation of the district's social media policy. The employees subsequently received some sort of personnel action. For example, a letter of expectations or a letter of reprimand. The disparity between how the district treats its administrators and how it treats its rank and file employees is astounding. For these reasons and many more, we are appealing to you, the board, to secure an impartial, independent party to conduct an investigation into our complaint. Thank you.
Okay, before I call our next speaker, thank you, Karen. So just as a reminder, the board policy around public appearance is specific about sharing specific issues related to complaint. So just for any of the remaining speakers coming up, it would be better not to go into the very, very specific details that you may have already put in your complaint, but you can still talk about the issues. I hope that makes sense. I know there's a nuance there, but so if you're going into the very specifics of a complaint that you've already filed, the public comment, that this isn't the right forum to go into a complaint process. But if you can keep it around kind of the bigger issues, then it's more appropriate for us in public comment. With that being said, are you Nikki?
I am.
Okay, so Nikki, do you need a minute to adjust anything, or are you
It's
okay?
a little choppy.
Okay,
Try to fill in different words, I guess. All right, well, we'll just go with it and I'll do it as I go.
okay, thank you so much.
My name is Nikki Goodnature. I'm a behavioral education assistant at Hawthorne. I am completing my 25th year at MMSD, and I was an SCA formerly at Alice, now Southside, for 12 years. There are 33 violations of different district policies and various federal laws and regulations highlighted in the complaint. When building level protocols and procedures are taken into account, the number of violations rise exponentially. During dismissal, vests aren't worn. 3 days later, replacements aren't replaced for people who aren't showing up for their places for dismissal. Children end up getting hurt, or it's a very dangerous situation. Staff get written up for those same infractions. Recently, one of our complainants was written up for violating a district policy of wearing a staff orange vest when outside during dismissal. We've seen staff wear all sorts of different colors. Besides wearing a highly visible vest was a recommendation as a result from the June 2022 on-site safety assessment findings. As for acts of supervision, the administration have admonished and written up staff for not following Southside's active supervision expectations during lunchtime. One of the expectation is to see and hear all students. Another expectation is no use of technology while actively supervising. Administrations don't necessarily follow those rules. Finally, a staff member is currently under investigation right now for allegedly violating the confidentiality policy. Yes. I'm not sure. I haven't really gotten into, I'm not going into what their thing is. Sure, go right ahead. There was an investigation launched and it's ongoing, I believe. Recently, staff was asked to go to a link for scheduling. When they opened the link, a dashboard to host confidential information for another elementary school came up. The dashboard contained the photo withhold list for students, staff personal contact information, students' passwords, special education caseloads, class lists with student IDs, personal IDs, student health plans, and other confidential information. The breach was brought to the administration and the link was subsequently removed. However, the damage has already been done. The district's double standard is abundantly clear and apparent. Due to this double standard, we strongly believe that the district cannot conduct a fair and just investigation. For this reason, we are appealing to you, the board, to secure an impartial, independent party to conduct the investigation.
You're 15. Yeah, you can't, what the basic, what you can also say is anything that involves a person's name or direct actions.
All right, we are going to go with Michelle Huffs,
Hafstabo.
Havestebut, and then following will be Elizabeth Oleans. All right. Oh, Larry, I see that now. All right, thanks.
Hello, my name is Michelle Hastabo. I am a licensed speech language pathologist and provide speech language services at Southside this school year. The previous school year, I provided part-time services at Alice Elementary. Over my 13-year career, I have worked in different schools and different school districts. The disregard that the principal and assistant principal show for complying with Individual with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA laws, students' IEPs, and parents' rights is the worst I have ever seen. During the 22-23 school year, 3 student services personnel submitted a multi-page complaint with the Associate Superintendent of Student Services, Assistant Director of Student Services, Director of Special Education, and the Program Support Teacher for Student Services regarding noncompliance with students' IEPs by the principal and assistant principal. The problems still persist, which have resulted in students not receiving the services they are entitled to. Students and families' rights continue to be violated. For example, on January 18th of this year, I learned of a special education student had been at Southside for 4 months, but no one notified me that the student existed. The assistant principal and another education staff member asked me to speak to them in person about why I had not set up transportation for the student. I stated I did not know about the student, nor had the student been placed on my caseload.
Compensatory services must be provided for the student. This noncompliance could have gone on a lot longer, resulting in the student not receiving the services entitled to them. It is difficult to imagine how a student was missed 3 months. Unfortunately, it wasn't unique because another student with a disability went without services for 7 months. Similar to the 3-month student, the missed services must be provided. For the 7-month student, it was suggested by a particular special education staff member at Southside that the parents not be told about these missed service minutes. Students with disabilities are negatively being affected by not receiving the necessary regular education and special education services that they deserve and are entitled to. Almost 2 years ago, the complaint was ignored against the principal. Last year, a complaint was submitted to special education directors, and apparently it was also ignored. Now, here we are in May 2024 with another chance to address the problem. As educators, we are held at high expectations in providing services to students and families first. As members of the public, what expectations should we have for you, our school board? We need an independent investigation. I beg you.
My name is Elizabeth O'Leary. Nothing I'm going to say is in the complaint, and I hope to be able to say it. Hello, Madison community and board members. I worked at Frank Alice for 6.5 years and served as the lead faculty union rep. Tonight, I am here because I cannot stop thinking about the inequitable practices and harm to our students that happened at Frank Alice and continue to harm people at the Southside community. As a faculty rep, my duties is to be a part of the collaborative problem-solving meetings with administration. CPS was excruciating with the Frank Alice current administration. From the beginning, it felt if I was there to report what was happening. And then we were gaslit to believe that the problems were not valid. And then many times the problems were put back on us as the reps to try to solve or make better or get people on their side. For example, many staff had concerns about the walking circle and how it was not focused on restorative justice. Watching students walk in a circle outside without talking, with staff watching, reminded me of practices that are not okay. The administration said it was a strong practice when I brought it up to them, and they asked us to have a discussion with staff to try to find ways to make it better. We organized the meeting, we had it all planned, and the morning of the meeting, the administration schedules another meeting about allocation and staffing for the next year at the same exact time of our meeting that they asked us to schedule. Another large topic we discussed in CPS was the subbing issue. We wanted a rotation so that CC teachers could serve their students with disabilities instead of subbing for other people multiple times a week. Last year, the CC teachers at Frank Alice, according to our calculations, subbed for over 500 hours. Once again, there was no collaboration or problem solving to work on this issue. The last point I want to make as the faculty rep is the sheer amount of staff who came to me to express their concerns, their fears, and their desperation for our scholars. Daily, I would have 2 to 4 people come to me in the hallways or in my classroom and ask me what to do. It was too much for me to bear after so many years, and that is when I decided to leave the school. After interviewing and receiving a potential job offer from a principal at another MMSD school, in the weeks to follow, I was confused at why I hadn't heard anything about the offer. I then asked some of the staff at that school, and they reported to me that one of my references raised too many red flags about me. None of my references were called, only my current administration. I then went and asked if there was any feedback on my job performance, and nothing was shared except, oh yeah, maybe about my union work. I felt as though my role as a faculty rep, when I'm being asked by the district and my union to be a part of these meetings, was weaponized against me. Luckily, I've been able to transition to Hawthorne. I know that working in education causes stress to all, but experiencing and witnessing all that happened impacted my ability to give my students a quality education and deteriorated my mental health. We are asking for an impartial, independent investigator for justice for our community.
All right, next we are going to have, are you James?
Yes, I am James.
All right, hi, James. Following James will be Burnett, is it? Burnett, all right. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Robinson. I am a SEA at Southside Elementary School. I've been working there for about 2 years, and my experience has been very up and down. I feel like I'm very underappreciated considering all of the relationships I've established around the school. Me as a young Black man, I feel like we're being under attack because of how we are perceived. Just because I have dreads, I feel like I'd be stereotyped a lot by a Black principal because of, she feel like she can have that leverage over me. I just want to have a independent investigator for my claim and my cause. I have more to say, but I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to take up too much time. You guys have a nice one.
Burnett, and then we'll have Leland Pan come up.
I'm a Black parent. I'm a father. I'm an educator. I'm Mr. Reed, the parent liaison at Southside. For the last 15 years, I've worked for MMSD and MSCR at many different schools. Please know that I have never seen such mismanagement and ineptness from an administration as I've seen at Southside. As a parent of a Black young lady who attends Southside, I honestly don't feel Southside is a place where a lot of learning is actually occurring. Our Black and brown students are missing out on crucial learning, which goes against what our ancestors have fought for many years. How can our scholars be successful at school if their ancestors haven't prepared them for excellence? How do we show our students we care if our administrators are both inept and unsure which direction to go? Furthermore, I feel my presence and concerns as a father are routinely ignored, dismissed, and disregarded by this administration. I've consistently gone to the current administration and raised concerns. I have yet to get a response to my concerns. This is no reason for this lack of communication. I even work in the building. Statistically speaking, Southside is one of the most educationally underserved schools in MMSD. This administration needs to understand that we won't ever stop fighting for our scholars, especially our Black and brown scholars. The fault for Southside demise lies squarely on MMSD and these unethical administrators. Some people may think this is just a story. However, this administration has gone the extra mile to discredit, dehumanize, mistreat people in any way they see fit to pursue their unjust agenda. But if we look at statistics, Southside has one of the highest staff turnover rates in the district. This is problematic, but the district refuses to choose to check into why. It is clear that MMSD administration prides itself on not going against the administrative department / the people at the Doyle building. The Southside administration has committed one violation after another. However, it's been protected from being held accountable for any wrongdoings. We kindly request an independent investigator look into our complaint, see the harsh dealings going on at Southside, and then to take the necessary corrective actions. Southside families have zero interactions with the current administration. You are welcome to Southside at any time. Please come, observe, and see for yourself how this place is run. MMSD owes the scholars transparency, safety, great quality of school learning, great communication, and a safety outlet to voice their opinions. Overall, they need an education. MME has disregarded for all of these facts stated forth. Please do better. I hope this board had a really good night of sleep because it's time to wake up. Open your eyes. This mistreatment and incompetence of this administration needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Leland, your form says do not wish to speak. That is correct. Oh. Okay. All right. Well, Leland's written statement is in support of current and former Southside staff in their pursuit of accountability for their leadership and a healthy, equitable work environment. We'll next have up Tracy Woke, sorry.
It's work.
Okay, Woke, and then Amelia Fritz after that.
My name is Tracy Wook, and I worked at Frank Alice, now Southside, for 6.5 years. I am currently the PBS coach at Schenck Elementary. This evening, you have heard from various stakeholders, students, families, and staff. My colleagues before me shared a snapshot of the numerous concerns we have for Southside stakeholders, especially our students. In MMSD, we have 3 goals that guide the work we do each and every day. 2 of these goals, goal number 2, the district and every school in it is a place where children, staff, and families thrive. And goal number 3, African American children and youth excel in school. These goals are not being met under the leadership of Southside. The MMSD community made a commitment to create schools where all children can thrive and our African American children and youth can excel. Exclusionary practices have been and continue to be used daily, formerly at Alice and now Southside. As you have heard, the Buddy Space and Walker Circle are some of the punitive measures being enforced at Southside. Exclusionary practices are disproportionately used against our Black and Brown students, more specifically Black and Latino males. With these practices in place, it is nearly impossible for our African American students to excel. Can a school truly be a place where children thrive when they are victims of exclusionary practices that violate their rights, not only under MMSD's behavior education plan, but the 14th Amendment as well? Within MMSD's strategic framework, there are 6 core values that help guide our work to meet the goals we have set. One of our core values is racial equity and social justice. We will take responsibility for the ways that our current policies and practices serve to reproduce inequities, and we will take action to close those gaps in opportunity that lead to racialized outcomes for children, youth, and youth of color. The move to Southdale Moreland was a hard-fought equity correction. To see students' lives so unprotected and disrupted is crushing. We will no longer allow students' lives to be unprotected and disrupted by staying silent. Today, we are taking action and demanding an appeal to you MMSD board members and requesting an independent investigation into the claims of our complaint. Southside students deserve better.
Amelia. And then following Amelia will be Pamela Farrow.
Hi, I previously was an Alice employee. I was also the MTI building rep for a year at Alice. And being such, I had a very similar experience to Elizabeth, where people were coming to me daily, recounting really shocking stories. I've been an educator for 10 years in 3 different countries and a couple different states, and have never experienced such a toxic workplace where people just didn't feel comfortable speaking in hallways about like normal manners. But the moment I decided to leave was kind of ironically the private meeting I had when I was reoffered my position as a 3rd grade teacher, and was told during that time that they were cleaning house of the racists. Those were the words that were said to me, which just stuck in my mind because it felt very shocking. Not only because like cleaning house is something mafia people say, but also I knew the people she was talking about. These are educators who dedicated their lives to educating elementary students, Black and Brown students. And it's like, if you think that there are problematic things about their teaching practices, these are the people we can change. These are the people who want to help. And so the entire mentality of we have to get rid of these wrong teachers was just so corruptive. And I also was lucky enough to come in to the position to teach Maria, who came up and spoke earlier, after her teacher had been forced out. And to hear that she is being kept out of the classroom for months this year, or at least like a month at a time, is outrageous. She is an amazing student who deserves to get curriculum delivered to her on a daily basis. And if you're not willing to have an independent investigation that the community can trust, because right now I think we are in a strong position where we have lost trust after years of being ignored, after years of this outrageous behavior. We do not have trust. And we deserve an independent investigation to prove that if you think everything is okay, then prove it. Then there should be no problem with this investigation. Thank you.
Pamela, and then following Pamela will be Josh Jenkins.
I don't think Josh has any comment, Michelle. I don't think I think if you look on there, it says not commenting.
You're correct. Josh said do not wish to speak. So following Pamela will then be Benji Ramirez.
I'm almost there. Hold on. At an age where I need to get my glasses. First of all, I really appreciate everyone taking the time to listen. It's very important that the individuals are heard. And I'll just start. During the pandemic, I taught a hybrid first and second grade combination classroom. Some students were online and some were in person. Before arriving at the school, I was told many horror stories about the students that I would be teaching. All the adults, parents, staff, and administration were angry. The only ones happy were the children because, as it was described to me, they ran the school the previous year. Students were also 2 to 3 grade levels behind academically. After being informed about my students, I went home depressed and wondered if I had made the wrong choice. It was the first time in my career, 25 years, that I was scared. Not about my abilities as an educator, but about the group of students I would be teaching. See, I had fell into the deficit mindset and criminalization of Black and brown children. The next morning I woke up, shook it off, and felt embarrassed that I had been fed into the stereotype. The day before school started, I was warned that when the students arrived, overwhelmingly students of color, I would see what everyone was talking about. The first day went by, nothing happened. Second day went by. The staff said, oh, it's a honeymoon period. The third and fourth days passed. I still saw no signs of the criminals that had been described to me. The following week, the naysayers were calling me an exceptional educator. At the end of the school year, with the exception of one student, all students were at or above grade level. The one exception, a relatively new newcomer, made significant growth. While the family was happy with this, I wasn't, because the student was not at grade level. As a Black educator, I'm aware that I have the capacity to reduce implicit and explicit bias for Black and other students of color, and disrupt the institutional inequities that help with widening the social, economic, and academic gaps between people of color and their counterparts. To hear harm being done to students is not okay. Students must know they should not be a statistic. No matter where students are, they should not be denied a right to an education. The 14th Amendment, as you heard earlier from one of the earlier speakers online, is very apparent. We just celebrated the 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education on Friday. It's fantastic when the school is recognized and honored for the progress they have made. But you must disaggregate the data to find out who we're talking about. Is it a Black scholar? Is it a Latino scholar? No, when you look at the statistics, it's mostly the white counterparts. The data doesn't lie. I am here representing all 24 of the individuals who filed the complaint. An independent, impartial investigation is warranted. There's no better time than now to stand up and do what's right. The time is right. The time is now. Thank you very much.
All right, Benji Ramirez, and then following will be Tamika Washington. And then our final speaker will be Wanda Smith.
Thank you. Good evening, board. So I am the current assistant to the administrative assistant, the EA clerical at Southside Elementary. And I first want to acknowledge a context, right? Southside is a community that has been bused for 40 years. There is a deep need for our students, for our families, and I see it every day. I also want to acknowledge the historical lack of action on behalf of MMSD. As I've witnessed my peers, this is my first year at the district, but in hearing the complaints of my peers, I want to recognize that the due process is not working. Something has to be done. And secondly, I also want to acknowledge that from the accounts that I have heard, that the district has provided minimal support for new principals, and navigating the district is a very tedious and time-consuming practice. Me in my first year here, I have learned a lot about the district, and I'm still navigating a lot of dynamics. That being said, I also, in the name of justice, in the name of what have you, I have to speak about the violation of specifically Board Policy 4221, the use of restraint and seclusion. The use of seclusion primarily is used for students to regain behavior control. And that is not the case with 3 students that I had. Was just thrown, 3 students for a large period of the year, 3 different students, 2 of whom are TEP. And I didn't receive guidance. I didn't receive, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is the behavior plan. This is our intended outcome. I was just suddenly entrusted, 1 student at a time, in our Welcome Center conference room. Now, I want to acknowledge the Welcome Center is a liminal space. All of my visitors are there less than 15 minutes. Not my first grade students that have been in this room. They have been there for periods on end, and that is a problem. And that is something that I dealt with daily as a moral judgment. Is this correct? Am I in a place to speak out about this? Is this something that is permissible within the district? I didn't know, but my administrators told me it was okay, and my administrators were the ones telling me to do this. And so now knowing what I know, and now having the context of my peers, I do stand in favor of an independent investigation because of 1, again, the historical lack of action on behalf of MMSD, and 2, we owe our students better. The 40 years is too long to have been bused. Thank you.
Tamika, did I get that right? Tamika Washington, and then Wanda Smith following.
Hello. Hi, my name is Tamika Washington. Tiffany is my daughter. She was going to Black Hawk. And she got jumped 3 times there. And so she been home ever since. I took her to the doctor. They say she had back injuries and her neck injury. The fight was like, the last one was terrible. And, I'm a mother, so you must know how I feel about the situation. So she's not safe at the school at all. Like, you see your kids at school, so you want them to learn, have an education and everything. So I feel like she's not safe at that school and a fight shouldn't be going on or anything. Like, I don't understand. You got something to say, baby? So, but I have the video. This is the video. My daughter getting beat, multiple peoples. Then nobody come save her at all. And to the last minute, she got stomped, dragged down the stairs and beaten and everything. This should not happen. And this the third incident. And I want justice for my baby. That's all I ask. Come on, baby.
Wanda Smith.
Actually, I wasn't gonna speak. I was coming here with my granddaughter and she got cold feet. Come on, talk. You got 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna start for her. I'm gonna do probably the first minute. Just to cut through the red tapes, I'm just trying to figure out a way. I have a 14-year-old that was kicked out of Sun Prairie High School. No, at the time, 14. Kicked out of her freshman high school, out of the entire state from school for having a fight or whatever in the school, right? So now she's in Madison, and I'm trying to figure out how she can't get in any schools. She goes to Milestone, which she doesn't want to be at, but she can't get in any Madison public school or alternative school. So I told her, come and talk to the school board and see how they can help you. So come on, talk.
I don't know what I'm saying, like, I don't know what to say.
Say what you tell me every day.
I want to be back in school, but it's like I can't be back in school because I got expelled over a little thing, and yeah.
She got expelled out the entire state of Wisconsin school district. I don't understand that. That makes no sense. And so I'm just trying to figure out, we missed a few school board meetings and today we are here. And I said, I don't know how to navigate this. Let's just go talk to the school board and see what policy is in place that if a kid is a freshman kicked out of the Sun Prairie School District or any district outside of Madison and they move to Madison, how can that kid get back in school to access that school and get the support and get the education that they need? Because I feel right now, this kid, 14, been out of school, it's unacceptable. But that's a list of a whole lot of other Black and brown children. And so that is not okay, because they fall into the cracks of the criminal justice system. And I have parents calling me every day because their kids been kicked out of school. What are we doing here? We're wasting taxpayer dollars and the kids are on the street, and who's benefiting? Nobody but the Dane County Juvenile Detention Center is profiting off of our babies. I need these kids in school. We need to get a plan to get them off the street because we're losing them. And to the biggest social media dope, we're losing our young people. What are we gonna do? I just want to figure out a plan that we can get these kids, I don't care if it's homeschool, I don't care if it's some school, that they can get an education, that we don't lose them in the criminal justice system, because that's what we're doing. And the state of Wisconsin seems to think that is okay, and then it's not. My time is up. Thank you.
The board is gonna actually take a recess before we go on with the rest of our agenda. But before we go to recess, I want to just thank every single speaker for being present tonight. A lot of heaviness in the public comments tonight. We just want to acknowledge that a lot of what you came forward to share tonight, whether online or if you're here in person, are hard things for us to hear, but we want to thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. With that, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. All right, we're gonna resume our meeting.
You could do your gavel.
If you can get quiet in the boardroom, please.
Gavel, girl. I want you to use your gavel so bad.
Quiet in the boardroom, please. We are resuming our business. All right, next, we're gonna go ahead and resume with approval of minutes. Come on, computer. I move that the Board of Education approve the minutes from the regular meeting dated April 15th, 2024.
Second.
Any corrections to the minutes? All right, Talia, your advisory vote.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, that passes 6-0. We're now going to have board president's announcements and reports. Vice President Pearson's going to help out here with a couple of this good news.
Celebrating our students. As the school year soon comes to an end, the Board of Education would like to congratulate all of our graduates. Seniors, we look forward to celebrating with you and your families at MMSD's upcoming commencement ceremonies. Visit mmsd.org/graduation for more information about the class of 2024, including commencement details. Congratulations, seniors. Celebrating our staff. Congratulations to Brian Councilman on being named a 2025 Wisconsin Teacher of the Year. Brian has spent almost 2 decades teaching and inspiring Madison's youth as an MMSD educator. As a teacher, his goal is for students to be kind, curious, and questioning humans who are fully engaged, not just in school, but more importantly, in life. Brian teaches science at Malcolm Shabazz City High School. Congratulations, Brian.
Celebrating our community, the board celebrates Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Hmong American Day was also celebrated on May 14th. Staff have collaborated with families and partners to plan special events to enrich student learning. Thank you for being part of our dynamic MMSD community. We'd also like to take a couple of moments to acknowledge our interim superintendent, as this is her kind of last board meeting that you'll be presiding over with us. And so we wanted to take a moment. I think we'll start with a video. Yeah, we just want to take a moment, Lisa, to just say that from the first time that we called you, to say that we really needed someone who could come in this interim year, who knew our district well, who could guide us through a really critical year, to help the board feel confidence in order to conduct a search for a new superintendent, and to feel like all of the important and critical work of running this district, making sure that our referenda projects were still moving forward, and that we were taking care of all of the critical things. You said yes without a doubt. And we are so indebted for your leadership. You've just always been really available for board members and really responsive. And so we just wanted to take a moment to share a few comments of appreciation, and we have a small token of our appreciation as well. So board members, feel free to add any comments, and I'll get our gift.
Lisa, I very much remember the first conversations I had with you about accepting this role and what it would be like to lead the district during this incredibly important year. And I also remember the first time you retired and, talking about kind of the 29 years of service that you had given this district and all of the different roles you have played to support this community over the course of your life and your career. I think thank you could never be enough for the amount of work that you have done to support our young people and our educators. But I think we all owe you a tremendous amount of respect and appreciation. I think it's hard to describe the amount of brilliance and kindness and willingness to think about things from different perspectives that you have brought to the table week after week, day after day. This is a tremendously hard job to do, and I believe that you have set us up for success long beyond your leadership. Thank you for all that you've done in working with us this year.
I would like to say thank you too. It's just been a year for me on the school board, so it's been almost all with you. I've learned so much, and I especially appreciate, Lisa, how you really show us what's possible with a level head, and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much.
Lisa, when I first started on the school board, we actually got to work together briefly when you were in the curriculum and instruction area. And so I wanted to say thank you again for your leadership. Thank you for taking the call to come after retirement. That's something that's hard for folks to do, at least for MMSC, it sounds like. And so, yeah, thank you for your leadership. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing what's next.
Lisa, my turn. I have real deep appreciation for you and respect for you. We didn't know each other before this year, and I feel like you stepped into a role that is more complex than anybody could possibly imagine. And you have done it with such skill and such poise, and I really feel like you've done everything that I could have ever asked for this year. And so I just want to say thank you.
I think my colleagues have summed it up wonderfully, but I would like to say thank you. I appreciate all the hard work, and it has been definitely noticed and definitely appreciated. So thank you for all of that.
Now we'll turn it over to you for your superintendent's announcements and reports, if you're ready.
I can be ready. Thank you. Thank you for the words of support, and just know that this could not have been possible without the commitment from all of you to our children and families and schools, and your willingness to accept all of the imperfections that happen on a daily basis, and accept me and all the imperfections that I brought to the job as well, and just appreciate and want to honor each of you for this work that you continue to do for our students and families. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have been honored, and I am really very honored today to also congratulate all of you on the wonderful decision you made. It was our joint, Ali, I remember us talking about this. It was our joint goal to create the space and place for Board of Education members to hire the very best superintendent, permanent superintendent for the Madison Metropolitan School District. And you did it. You hired Dr. Gothard. So Dr. Gothard, give a wave out there. I am so proud and honored that you are taking over. If you remember, those were our early goals, right? To create that space and place, to hire the superintendent, to keep the focus on literacy, to focus on hiring and retention, and to, create those organizational ways of working. And I hope that all of you are thinking about the ways that you've contributed to that foundation setting and the ways of working around communication, decision-making, roles and responsibilities. I just want to thank all of you and congratulate you for coming along on this journey for our children and our kids first. So we have a couple of updates today. First of all, I'd like to recognize, I'm really happy to share a little bit about Tawana Foundation Wright. Is she in the audience out there? Thank you. Tijuana Fountain Wright. Is that right? Is that better? Thank you. Tijuana Fountain Wright. All right. She is a wife, a mother, and a parent of former and current MMSD students. She collaborates with teachers to create support plans for students. Her expectations are paired with deep empathy and care for both students and families. She has led restorative conversations between students and families, and the school leaders who work with Ms. T say she has supported students who have felt unheard and disconnected. She has provided academic, emotional, and familial support. Through her loving accountability, these students have seen improved attendance, grades, and they've learned conflict resolution skills. So Ms. T started the La Follette STEP team last year. The team now performs at lots of school and community events, and this has been the first co-curricular opportunity that most of the students that she works with have ever participated in. She also makes home visits to welcome new students and families, and she checks on individuals who are in crisis. She is an important valued link in the school to home connection. So Jesse, I think we have a video to play.
Here at La Follette High School, jumping right in for this team building exercise. Meet the one and only Tijuana Wright, otherwise known as
Miss T. Miss T means everything. She's like one of my best friends.
She helped me around school and sometimes out of school. I always ask if I'm okay when I'm looking down.
She builds relationships with our students. She cares about them. She continuously goes above and beyond, and she's truly the soul of our school.
You made it to the finish line! That's right. Miss T is the soul of the school.
She made sure that I got through everything and succeeded 8th grade. And then when I came over to La Follette a couple months ago, my dad passed, and she helped me get through it. And she came to his funeral and made sure everything was good and I was all right.
Miss T from La Follette.
What Tijuana does for us at La Follette High School is actually she truly builds the bridge between our students, our families, and our teachers and our staff.
And then I get to see her at 8 o'clock on the dot. Monday through Friday, all love.
So while her title is Student Engagement Specialist, for everyone she meets,
There with me when I need her help, there to talk to me.
Miss T is family.
It's just all like good vibes when she come around, and she always smile. That's something that I love about her too.
She's a support system.
She actually brings us together.
She's just so loving and so caring, and like she really plays like a mother role for a lot of us.
Somebody that I can say I truly, unconditionally love, all my heart, all my soul, and she deserves this recognition 100%.
We love you, Miss T.
Miss T, come on up here.
Lisa, does that conclude your report or do you have more?
A little more.
You have more? Okay.
All right, I am going to move on. So next, we want to highlight an amazing career workshop, which was held last month. La Juventud Latinx Career Workshop was the idea of one of our high school students who wanted to show career opportunities to other Latinx and Spanish-speaking students. Thanks to some of our incredible staff, this idea came to life, and 10 community organizations partnered with us to provide hands-on interactive workshops for Latinx students to explore the breadth of career opportunities in their respective industries. These were fields especially accessible to multilingual young professionals and those not seeking a traditional college path. And about 80 of our students attended the event. Jesse, we have a video.
I am super excited about this Juventud workshop. This is a great opportunity to let them see the industries that our Latinx leaders are in, seeing the big picture, and also letting them know the opportunities. Kids likes to see a reflection, so if she could do it, I could do it as well.
It was very inclusive, and how they spoke about like their experience being Latino, and that stood out to me because not every presenter I've ever had has had that experience. So for them to actually like tell us what they went through, have the same struggles as we do, and really interested me.
The day away today was super fantastic. One of the most impressive things I've seen to serve our Latin student population yet. The idea that kids could get an overview of so many different careers and talk face to face with so many different professionals that look just like them, imagining their future was super rewarding.
This event was masterminded by a group of students, and we just rolled with that, and we were able to invite about 10 different organizations to give workshops.
A lot of people aren't aware of the opportunities that are available to them because they may not see someone or see themselves represented in that trade or profession. So we're really happy to be out here letting students know that these careers in the electrical industry are available for them. They make great wages, great benefits, support families if they want to, and it's all about connecting with community and making these connections so people know that these are opportunities available for them after high school.
I would say my favorite one would be police, because it was very hands-on. There was like lots of stuff I learned. But electrician, I would also say that would be one of my favorites because that's what I want to do after high school.
Y también de esta manera también ellos pueden saber qué pueden hacer en el futuro, cuáles son las oportunidades. Y mi taller favorito fue el de traducción. Me parece que fue muy bueno, muy interactivo. Hablaron de cómo sirve que nosotros seamos bilingües.
By providing these different workshops to them, they can see the different options they have without having to go to a four-year college or having to get a degree. These opportunities will allow them to have an idea and figure out what they want to do in the future. And also just know that there's many options for them and that they don't have to stick to the regular 9 to 5. There's many other things that they can do, and it is possible.
Thank you, Jesse. It's inspiring to see those students explore a variety of career options. And we appreciate all of us showing up for them every day they come to school so that they can show up for us in their career in the future. Next, I want to uplift that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We recognize the crucial role mental health and well-being plays in the lives of our school, our students, and in our community. There is an inseparable link between mental health, physical health, and learning. Our staff help students learn how to cope when challenges come their way, and staff members provide care, support, and connections so families and students are not alone in their journey. So this month, the school district is raising awareness of our mental health and well-being support. And to learn more, we invite you to visit our website at mmsd.org/mental/health. And finally, as always, I want to recognize and celebrate a donation. So a big thank you to Unity Point Health, Meritor. They donated $30,000 to Vel Phillips Memorial for a dinner program for the 2024-25 school year and beyond. So they are the Adopt a Schools partner for Memorial High School, a process and an activity that is supported and promoted by our foundation. And I see Melinda in the audience, and that is something that I know we strive for all of our schools, to be Adopt a Schools by a community organization. So the donation from Unity Point Health funds meals for any student who needs dinner so that they can stay after school and have something to eat. So thank you, Unity Point Health Meritor, And thank you, board members, for letting me indulge in some celebrations this evening. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you for bringing the good vibes as always. Lisa, that's always a nice part of our meeting. All right, I'm going to move us into a report on items that proceeded through the instruction work group held on May 2024 and pass that over to Chair Muldrow.
Thank you so much, Board President Nichols. At our last instruction work group, we focused on 3 policies. We reviewed the changes to our bilingual / English language learner policies, policy 33550 and 2260.2. We reviewed and discussed final recommendations on changes to the graduation policy, policy 3540 / 5460. We reviewed and discussed the final recommendations to changes to the attendance policy / absence policy, policy 4031, 4032, and 5200. In our upcoming instruction work group, we will focus on our advanced learning policy.
Thank you. Next, we'll report on items completed through the operations work group held on May 13th, 2024. Chair Castro's not able to be with us tonight, so I'm going to have Vice President Pearson do that report out.
Thank you. So we received the final 2024 long range facilities plan and had a discussion about that, as well as consider the long-term capital improvement trust fund and creation possibly of that. And then we also discussed the proposed budget development, as well as the amendment process for Board of Education members. We also reviewed the student fee policy 3340 and 3710 and proposed food program policies. The next operations work group meeting will be held on June 10th, 2024. And that's it.
Thank you. All right, there were some action items that proceeded through the instruction work group held on May 6, 2024. And as Chair Muldrow already said, those were policy related. So I'm going to get us into those motions. I move that the Board of Education approve the Services for English Learners policy as set forth in the document prepared for the May 20th, 2024 regular meeting. The policy will be edited and formatted, but no substantive changes will be made before it becomes effective July 1, 2024.
Second.
Discussion, Board Member Vandermeulen.
By edited, they just mean typo for typos and other errors, not change, not because even minor change. Perfect. That's all I had my question.
All right, any other discussion? All right, Talia, your advisory vote.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes 6-0. Thank you. Next is the graduation policy. I move that the Board of Education approve the graduation requirements policy as set forth in the document prepared for the May 20th, 2024 regular meeting. The policy will be edited and formatted, but no substantive changes will be made before it becomes effective July 1, 2024.
Second, Vandermeulen.
All right, any discussion? Yes, Board Member Muldrow.
I want to thank my fellow board members for the incredibly thoughtful and deliberate conversation we had in relationship to all 3 of these policies, but with our graduation policy particularly, I think we were able to engage in a really nuanced dialogue. I would be interested in motioning to amend this policy to add a half a credit for art, making the total amount of art credit students need to graduate 2 credits or 4 semesters. So I would need a second.
Can you just clarify again the requirements?
Motioning to require 2 credits for art, which would add an additional half credit, and then remove a half credit from our, I'm sorry, electives needed to graduate.
Us,
Just point of, can you point to like the line where you're looking?
what I'll do is I'll second it for the sake of conversation or discussion so that we can have a discussion about it.
If you're looking for what I would be changing in the document, it's going to be right now it's 1 credit. So I'm sorry, that's actually an error. It would be 1.5 credits in the areas of humanities, which includes world language, visual arts, music, and or theater. And that would make our requirement for the arts and humanities the same as a requirement for physical education. And it would shift us from 7 elective credits to 6.5 elective credits.
Board Member Vandermeulen.
I highly support this. Very simply, I can't change the gym requirement as much as I would like to change the gym requirement because it's Department of Public Construction. And so I can't do anything about that. But I think that we don't pay enough attention to the arts and the humanities in our schools. So I think this would be a good addition. And therefore, I would support the amendment.
I just want,
Okay. I think in order for me to know if I could vote on that, I'd like to hear from somebody from the administration about any implications just related to our DPI requirements. So if we have such latitude to kind of make that adjustment, it would be good to know.
Assistant Superintendent Cindy Green for Teaching and Learning will talk that through.
Sorry, I was making sure it was on. Good evening. Your question was related to DPI. Or did you want me to address just in general the potential implications?
Yeah, if you could address both, I think that would be good, just because I know that when we were talking about this policy being updated, right now, there was some reference to kind of needing to update our graduation requirements to be in alignment with kind of the state expectations. And then also just wanting to know locally, what do we have the latitude to do?
So I'll start with the first. So I think Board Member Muldrow already outlined that we do have a graduation requirement that includes 1 credit of humanities. That means 2 courses at minimum that a student has to take in the area of world language and or in the arts already. Our requirements for DPI are that at minimum are the 15 courses that are outlined at the top of the graduation policy, the 4 English, 3 math, 3 science, 3 social studies, 1.5 physical education, a 0.5 health, and now in addition to that, a 0.5 credit in the area of financial literacy or personal finance. So that right there equals 16.5 of the 22 requirements. I think from our perspective, in order to take that back to have that conversation, I think we would want to take into consideration what that means for students that may be going the CTE route. As you know, simultaneously as we've grown in the arts, we've also grown in the areas of CTE, which create stackable courses for students to earn industry credentials and or early college opportunities. So when we add more requirements on one end, it does potentially take away the opportunities for students to fulfill some of the early college and industry credential opportunities. So it's things that would need to be taken into consideration for us and our schools. From a DPI perspective, I'll just answer that question for you, Board President. From a DPI perspective, the DPI does give you the latitude to determine beyond that 15.5 credits what you determine, which is why we as MMSD added in years back the humanities requirement. That is an MMSD local decision, that is not a state required, because we wanted to also ensure that we uplifted some of our values as it relates to the humanities. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions while Cindy Green is, directly for her? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Pearson?
So what I wrote down here was that, and just a clarification, Ollie, it's 2 credits, 1.5 credit, removed from the elective. So did you mean just like the 2 credits? So increasing, or 2 classes? So it's like 1 credit, I guess.
No, I'm increasing it from 1 credit related to humanities, which includes world language, visual arts, music, theater, to 1.5.
Okay.
So that means instead of requiring 2 semesters of humanities, we would require 3, and that would make the value of humanities and the arts as a required area of credit to graduate from our high schools as valuable as FIED.
Got it.
Which I feel comfortable with that for myself personally. I think the other thing I want to speak to in terms of these credits is really maintaining the integrity of the arts in terms of our student enrollment in the arts and also our ability to staff art classes.
So it would just be an increase 1.5 to that category, not specifically only to art.
It would be an increase, to the
Okay.
humanities category more generally, and it would be changing it from 1 to 1.5, and it would be changing electives from 7 to 6.5.
6.5. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
I think so. I think I would want to think about it a little bit more. Although, sort of like in principle, I'm there with you. Some of the, in both in like the importance of that for students and in like what that means for our staffing model and our commitment to maintaining really robust humanities programs. The other thing that I'm thinking about though that gives me pause on a yes vote tonight is like, and I mean, you kind of all know this about me. I'm like always super interested in interdisciplinary. And so I would want to be thinking like, okay, what would we need to put in place to support interdisciplinary courses that might be like a half a credit of art with a half a credit of math, or a half a credit of music and a half a credit of FIED. I would be interested in like a full discussion about those possibilities.
So I'm also feeling like I want a little more time to think about it. And part of what's going through my mind is, while I appreciate humanities as part of something that I gravitate to for my learning, I know some other people may gravitate towards more technical subjects. And those are also things that I think we could be looking at if we wanted to engage in a deeper conversation around how are we truly, preparing our students for the ability to live a very successful and happy life. I think art is a big piece of that, and then but it's not a big piece of it for everybody. So for other people, it's, there's other categories that might rise up. So I will want some more time to think about it.
Board Member Muldrow?
I greatly appreciate the feedback I'm hearing from my fellow board members. Particularly, I want to acknowledge the idea of like, is a dance class an art class or a FIED class or both, right? And some of the complexity of what it means to assign credit in this specific way. I think the argument of like the arts doesn't work well for all students, or that there are students who are more technically compelled. I think eliminates real portions of the art, like working AV or working crew or understanding kind of the technology of the arts themselves. I think that there's, you know, an interesting approach to the arts in comparison to other areas of education that are seen as more essential or academically necessary. A student not being super compelled or interested in math wouldn't make us go, we're going to have less math credit as a requirement. And so I appreciate the thoughtfulness in which folks are engaging, and I'm comfortable calling the question. And if folks vote differently than me, I completely understand.
Okay, thank you so much, Board Member Muldrow. And I think I also tonight feel like I would need more time to think about it, although generally, I think what you brought up through the motion is worth a more robust conversation. And I appreciate that you brought the motion forward in a way that you kind of had already done the math and looking at the possibilities of where 0.5 could come from. So we have a motion that in essence is to add 0.5 credit to the category of humanities and reduce 0.5 credit from our electives category. That's been seconded. And so Tali, I see your hand up. I don't know if you're ready for the vote or if you had a comment.
I just quickly wanted to jump in and say regarding this change, I think it could be valuable in this case to see what current MMSD students think about it, because as one student with one experience, I can't effectively speak for my peers, but since this is a change that will directly impact students' experiences within the MMSD, I think it could be useful to see what students think about this change and how they might, how they think it could influence their learning.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead, Board Member Muldrow, since you said you were comfortable with kind of calling the question. Talia, your advisory vote?
Am I able to abstain?
Yes.
Okay, abstain.
Okay. All those in favor of adding 0.5 credit to humanities category and reducing 0.5 credit from electives? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All those opposed? All right. So we have 3, and
Motion failed.
yeah, so it fails tonight. So let me go back to the main motion, which had we already seconded?
Thought I did.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion on the main motion? All right. Then Talia, I'm going to do it the other way. All those in favor? Aye for the main motion. Okay, and then Talia, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Okay, that passes 6-0. Thank you. All right, our next one is the attendance absence policy. I move that the Board of Education approve the attendance policy as set forth in the document prepared for the May 20th, 2024 regular meeting. The policy will be edited and formatted, but no substantive changes will be made before it becomes effective July 1, 2024.
Second, Maya.
Any discussion on this one? I'll go with Board Member Mosner-Feltham and then come back to Board Member Muldrow.
Thanks. I want to start with an appreciation for members of the board, as well as specifically the policy committee, as well as all the folks within the MMSD who are working to get kids to school. It's a challenging task, and I appreciate all the work and the care and consideration that folks are putting into that. I have questions around the very, very end of the policy that gets into when a student has missed school, their coursework and making up that coursework. And my questions are, so it says at the very end, consistent with district guidance, a student who is absent from school, whether the absence is excused or unexcused, except for an expelled student, shall be permitted to make up coursework in any other exams missed during the absences of that year. So I'm curious about the guidance. What if any limitations and requirements are laid out in that guidance? How does that guidance take into account the workflow and the staff? I'm curious about the supports that students who have missed school get in completing that missed work. And I'm curious about the process by which that guidance is created.
On up, Cindy. Thank you.
Hi again. So I'll try and go in order of your questions. The guidance is in draft form still. I mentioned this at our last instruction work group. We have used the guidance that already exists, which is through our grading guidance at all levels, K-12. That talks a lot about opportunities for redos and opportunities for students to have additional ways to meet standards and or to meet the knowledge and skills of a particular course, a particular assignment, etc. And right now the team has been working through our grading group, which is a informal name to talk about a group of individuals at our secondary schools, principals, assistant principals, instructional coaches, and AVID coordinators mostly that have been working through our continuous work over the last 5 or 6 years as it relates to grading and have lifted out some very specific components about the ability for students, whether excused or unexcused, to be able to make up coursework within the time frame of that marking period. So that could be a quarter for a student at the middle school level, and that could be through either a progress report time at the high school level or a semester. We've tried to really think about existing structures that are in place already for our schools around students' ability to have support, whether it's through our interventionists, whether it's through our student and staff supports department, and or just the classroom teacher. The next step for this guidance is that our secondary team led by Mary Jankovic is going to be taking it to department chairs. Department chairs, I think, play a key role because they're both classroom teachers as well as leaders and coaches, if you will, in the buildings. At the middle school level, they've been working mostly through our instructional coaches and our principals. Did I capture all of your questions? I kind of talked about it in a summary, so I want to make sure I got all of your questions.
Yeah, you got all my questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Board Member Muldrow.
I want to thank our administration for working in partnership with the board on this policy in particular. I want to recognize that the crisis related to attendance is a national phenomena, and that addressing it requires a lot of attention to detail and kind of the current reality and dynamics that inform the lives of our students. I think we had a lot of conversations about the implications of mental health and our attendance, and I think those conversations were tremendously valuable, and I appreciate the work our administration has done to incorporate that feedback. I want to emphasize to the community watching tonight that as important as it is that you get your kiddo to school, it is also equally important that when your child needs to stay home because they are ill or because their mental health does not allow for them to be in school and participate to the best of their ability, that you keep them home, that we're relying on you to keep your kid home when they're sick and when they need to stay home, and that is tremendously important and relates to safety in a lot of ways. So thank you to this board and to our administration for being incredibly thoughtful in navigating our approach to attendance. I hope we continue to strengthen this work.
Thank you. Before I call on you, Board Member Vandermeulen, I'm gonna just put myself in the queue and say that I wanted to, just go directly after Board Member Muldrow with an appreciation as well for the points that you raised during our instructional work groups around finding some language that acknowledges the strength, for family members to make, really good choices, to excuse their children. And so I just want to acknowledge that that was incorporated in the very opening paragraph of this policy that now starts with the board prioritizes a healthy school community and recognizes that the district's educational program is predicated upon the participation of each student in the program of instruction, ... And then a little bit later, also it says the board understands that students are absent from school for a myriad of reasons. Guardians shall determine the needs of their child and make decisions about attendance that support their mental and physical health. And guardians are encouraged to utilize the following provisions for excused absences to protect the health and wellness of district students. And so I want to thank the administration for hearing the board's conversation, and I want to thank you, Board Member Muldrow, for raising that, because I feel like it's a really nice addition to a policy that would normally read as much more technical in nature. Board Member Vandermeulen.
Mine is also thank you, but it's to Manka for adding the passage on voting and separating it from being a poll worker, because a poll worker requires a 3.0 grade point, but I believe everyone who's 18 and legal should be allowed to, and it's legal, should be allowed to vote. And I think that's really, really important to stress, because we want our youth at the polls. No matter, I don't care who, just please vote. Thank you.
All right, any other further discussion? All right. All those in favor, can I get an aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Talia, your advisory vote. Thank you. Was that an aye? Yes, okay, that passes 6-0. Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to the action items that proceeded through the operations work group held on May 13th, 2024.
Did we skip the EL language?
No, we did that first.
Oh, I missed it. Sorry. I voted for it. I just got confused. I apologize, Chair.
No worries. I move that the Board of Education approve the long-term capital improvement plan as set forth in the document prepared for the May 20th, 2024 regular meeting.
Second.
All right, any discussions on the long-term capital improvement plan?
Just may I for clarification?
Sure. Board Member
I-
Vandermeulen.
My one clarification, this is not the trust fund?
So this particular motion is for the long-term capital improvement plan, which then will be followed by a resolution. The resolution is 9.2, which we're going to come to. That is, so we have to have a long-term improvement plan in order to then create a long-term capital investment trust fund, which would be the Fund 46. So they're related to each other, but they require two separate actions.
Got it.
Okay.
Here.
Yep. All right. Then hearing no, does that clarify?
Clarify.
Okay, so hearing no other discussion, all those in favor, aye. Those opposed? All right, that's 5-1. Talia, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the next item is the long-term capital improvement plan resolution. I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution to create a long-term capital investment trust fund, Fund 46, as set forth in the document prepared for the May 20th, 2024 regular meeting.
Second, Maya.
All right, discussion. Board Member Vandermeulen.
Yes, I'm voting against this, not that I don't believe our schools need to be fixed. I do. Here's my problem. We have enough funds currently, and they're rather In fact, I confuse them quite a bit, number one. But number two, in order to do that, I think a budget, as we always say, is a moral document. I think we should be focusing on how to keep our staff and figure out how to pay COLA on a regular basis, rather than just what we're going to do with our facilities 10 years down the line when we have buildings and no people to staff them. So that, for that reason, that's why.
Board Member Muldrow, and then I'll come back. Sorry, it's just that all three of our hands went up.
I know.
I would like to direct my questions at Bob specifically. So in creating the Fund 46, how much are we planning to put in that fund initially and annually?
Good evening. It would be, so the creation of Fund 46 that we're considering tonight requires the creation and then a nominal investment to begin the segregated trust fund. And right now, given our current budget conditions, I was going to discuss with the administration and Dr. Gothard, but I'm thinking a very nominal amount, say as low as $100. It's just the act of creating the trust fund and allowing the 5-year clock to begin ticking to allow us to access the money 5 years from now.
Because this is a long-term plan, I would imagine start off with dollars that have kind of a plan related to passing our capital referendum, and then being able to use this fund to ensure that we reserve resources specific to what we told the community we would do with them.
Correct. Fund 46 just gives the board more options to finance long-term capital improvement. You'll continue to use Fund 10. You can continue to use Fund 41. Fund 46 just becomes an option that 5 years from now, our conditions under the general aid formula would change and it would become more financially feasible to use the Fund 46 option to finance facilities. But it really, a lot of factors have to change. I think the board's current strategy of using combination of Fund 10 and Fund 41 is the most prudent financial decision, but it's building another option for us to use 5 years from now if conditions change and the long-term plan changes.
I think you've given us a really significant amount of information around why this is a strategy and an approach you think the board should explore and leverage in terms of its potential to allow for us to plan long-term. Are there any downsides to, initiating a Fund 46 that you would like board members to be aware of at this time?
I really don't see the downsides. The downside is if you would say, do you think we should put a large sum of money into it now and then in the next 5 years? My answer would be I would not recommend it because we are a negatively funded district and would require, the way the formula works, we would lose more state aids than we would if we continue to use Fund 41 and Fund 10. So I wouldn't think it would not be a wise decision financially, but I really do think it's a good option to have as a possibility long-term.
My plan tonight is to vote in favor of Fund 46, given the information you've made available to us at this time. I think it's really important that board members maintain an awareness of how we are leveraging this fund and the benefits of this fund long-term and the reality that it is not currently compatible with the conditions of our district's budget. Thank you.
Welcome.
That's it for me.
President Pearson.
Yeah, I just have a question about adding funds to Fund 46. Will you all then come back, or are you going to discuss a plan of coming back to us saying like, okay, we want to add $10,000 or we want to add $100? Or is that a decision that administration will do without the consent from the board?
No, there would definitely be consent from the board. We'd have to create a balance sheet for Fund 46. It'd have to be a new and expenditure line. And so we would have to follow all the current Wolfer accounting codes, the chart of account. So we would be back to you after it's created.
Yeah, I also plan on voting in favor because I do think adding some space and latitude for us to think long-term, but even more so past this current iteration of the board, and set up future boards for success in making sure that we are updating our buildings. I would like to just say, when I was at when I was at a budget conversation that we all had at West, one of the things that I was hearing from teachers and, or I would say staff and parents, was that our buildings are hot. They want AC. They like from elementary on up to high school. So when I think about some of the comments that were coming from those budget sessions, I think that this is a good move for us to have a long-term plan. And I also think it adds confidence within our board from the community to say that we are going to be good stewards of this possible referendum if we were able to get funding to continue updating our schools and make it habitable and continue making it habitable for our staff and our students. Part of that is like, I don't think as a child I want to go to a school that's 100 degrees every single day, right? As well as working in a building that is possibly falling apart, et cetera. So I do think, although investing in staff is extremely important and it's definitely a retention, it's also having the working conditions for them to be able to work and educate our kids in. So I just want to say I will be voting in favor. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I also would just like to add myself to the queue of comments by saying that I think the idea of the Fund 46 that Bob introduced at our operations work group makes a lot of sense. If we approve of this resolution tonight, it allows the fund to be created. How we designate dollars into the fund is yet to be determined. And what we heard from Bob, even at our operations work group, at some point in the future, we may be able to designate a portion of fund balance, but we have not made that decision yet. I think what we're voting on tonight is creating the fund, and then knowing that once we start depositing into the fund, we cannot expend any other cost out of that fund unless it is spent on our long-term facility improvements. So it's kind of it does seem like a good tool for us to have for that long-term facility improvements, especially given our most recent facility conditions report. And knowing that even though we're using a different fund right now, Fund 41, to do facility improvements, the work ahead of us is going to require a long-term commitment. And I think it's a good move for our board to get a fund created and then figure out some of the details later. So is there any further discussion? All right, then all those in favor of approving the long-term capital improvement plan as set. Oh, we already did the plan. I apologize. Let me get back to the right motion. All those in favor of approving the resolution to create a long-term capital investment trust fund, Fund 46. Aye. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, those opposed? All right. 5-1 passes. Talia, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next we have the acceptance of the long-range facilities plan. I move that the Board of Education accept the long-range facilities plan as set forth in the document prepared for the May 20th, 2024 regular meeting.
Second, Maya.
All right, any discussion on the long-range facilities plan? Board Member Mosner Feltham.
Sure. Just big thanks to folks who have worked on it. Big thanks. And then, I guess to put in the record, I understand that from this plan, there's still lots of time for stakeholder input when you get to the actual specific school planning stuff. And nothing in here is like to the level of detail that like school sites are going to need to be like, wait a minute, you decided all this stuff. Like that's all later. This is real overview stuff. So thanks a lot to the team who put so much work on it. And that fact made me feel more comfortable, and maybe it makes others comfortable too.
Great. I'll just add to what you said, Board Member Mosner Feltham, also a deep appreciation for the hard work on the long-range facility plan. I had made a couple of small recommendations just a week ago about kind of referencing the more recent board vote resolution on greenhouse gas in one section of the long-range facility plan, and then also had also made a recommendation around our sustainability section of the plan, making sure that it looked like MMSD would be well poised to meet its newest resolution goals by doing the collaborative work with our local utility providers. And I saw that that was included. So I really appreciate the short turnaround and the addition on that. All right, hearing no other discussion, then all those in favor of accepting the long-range facilities plan, aye. All right, Talia, your advisory vote.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That passes 6-0. All right, we're at the consent agenda. I move that the Board of Education adopt and approve all of the motions set forth in Section 10 of the electronic agenda prepared for the May 20th, 2024 regular school board meeting, exactly as said motions are written. By voting affirmatively on this motion, a board member expresses his, her, or their affirmative vote on each of the motions consolidated hereby subject to any express separations that have been made by any member of the school board. Board Member Muldrow. Okay, can I get a second first? Board Member Muldrow seconds. Okay. Yes, separations. 10.57. Okay. All right. Are there? Yeah. All right. Any other separations? Do we have a temp?
Yes, the HR report.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. All right. We had a lot. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. All right, Talia, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you. That passes 6-0. Let's go down to 10.57. All right, I move that the Board of Education approve the May 2024 Human Resources Transactions Report items. All right, thank you. Board Member Muldrow?
Yeah, so I wanted to direct questions at both Bob and our Director of HR, Jennifer Trindell, related to vacancies and cost savings generated in relationship to vacancies. I'd also like to ask that the board provided with a pretty thorough analysis of our fill rate as it relates to subs. And I'm hoping that we can capture this information over the course of the last 3 years as we've returned from virtual learning, in part because I think we have multiple schools that have maintained vacancies long-term. The other question I'd like to direct at HR is around kind of the average rate of filling positions that are vacant. So over the course of the year, are we losing more people than we are hiring? How do we address that? How do we reconcile our budget in terms of staffing? So those are broader questions. I'm hoping we can dive into them in parallel with our overall conversation around our budget. But I did want to highlight that I think we need to be really mindful of how vacancies in our budget are informing our ability to fulfill our budget, the consequences that those vacancies have for the integrity of learning and our ability to deliver services to students, and anything this board should be investing in order to ensure that our schools are fully staffed and that when our educators are out, that we have subs to ensure that teachers have their planning time. I think other things related to this are how much overtime specific units are generating, because I think it's an error to think of vacancies as just cost savings. I think we do have to acknowledge that we spend more when we are short-staffed and that there are real consequences for that. And so that's all I wanted to bring to the attention of our administration at this time. I look forward to discussing the staffing of our district and the greater implications for that moving into next year.
Are some of those questions things that you wanted answers to now, or are questions that you're raising that should be coming back to one of our work group?
My hope is that we could have a thorough discussion of these practices in a work group. I don't think, at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
We need to take it there.
'Cause I wasn't sure because I said,
Yep, I was going to say the team will have some answers prepared for you for early June and also the operational work group.
Thank you so much. I also do want to acknowledge that we were given a pretty thorough presentation of some of this initial information at our most recent work group. Although I very much appreciate that information, I do think that information, I think we need a fuller picture of the implications of the information we've already gotten, as well as a deep dive of some information we have not yet received.
any further discussion on this item? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. All right, Talia, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Thank you. That passes 6-0. All right. Other reports to the board. Starting with the City County Schools Collaborative Committee. I'm on that committee, so I'll give the report. We had a meeting on May 8th. Our agenda consisted of having Madison Public Schools Foundation come and talk to the committee about just updates on what the foundation does, but also their plans to support MMSD with any future referendum. They heard comments from the elected city alders and county board supervisors on the committee about things that they think would be important for the foundation to take into consideration. And then we had a couple of agenda items that were follow-ups from the previous month's committee report. Dr. TJ McCray came and provided information specifically on TEP-related transportation, because we had a presentation the month before about students experiencing homelessness. And we also had a couple of follow-up items related to community schools and how do students who are experiencing homelessness, what services might be provided at community schools. And that pretty much summarized our meeting. Our next committee meeting is on June 12th, 2024. I'll now pass it over to Talia for Student Senate.
Student Senate has been finishing up for the year. We've been moving through the election process and appointing new officers for next year. There was a forum tonight.
We also had a voter registration drive training from the Madison Clerk's office and have been finishing up with voter registration drives at the high schools. And that's pretty much it. I think our final meeting is May 29th. So not this Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Nice, Talia. Thank you for all your work again. Next, we have Madison School and Community Recreation Advisory Committee, Board Member Mosner Feltham.
Thanks. MSCR after-school programs are closing out the year with many celebratory events. For example, the middle school flag football tournament at Cherokee Heights Middle School last Saturday. Toki brought home the win. Drama club performances at Spring Harbor and Toki, and field trips and family events to celebrate a great year. Final summer planning is underway with some programs like adult softball already started and training for youth programming beginning next week. Over 5,000 participants are registered for camp and summer semester programs. I believe our next meeting is in June, and I will look forward to updating the board on the July Friends of MSCR golf outing at that time.
Thank you. Policy Committee, do we have an update tonight or not?
No, we don't necessarily have an update. We've been doing policy through our work groups, which has been great. And we are hopefully having a policy committee meeting in July, and that is dependent on schedules. So that's it.
Great. Board Governance Committee, Board Member Simkin, you want to give something? Okay.
Okay, we have now begun the second phase of our work on board governance, which started as a learning process about board governance structures. And as the second part of our work, we're beginning to update the language in our policies that surround board governance to ensure that we're properly conveying what the board values and how we lead. At our board retreat on May 10th, the Board of Education began work, beginning the adjustment of board policies, starting with policy 1171, which is the powers and duties of Board of Education members. Policy 1540, the policy on expectations for school board members, and the MMSD policies and procedures philosophy of education.
Thank you. All right, moving on to other business. Notice of disallowance. I move that the Board of Education disallow a claim on behalf of the MMSD under Wisconsin State Statutes 893.80, alleging negligence, violations of the Individuals with Disability Education Act, and constitutional violations.
Second.
Board Member Vandermeulen.
I need to abstain from this vote. I know the parties involved, so that would be a conflict of interest.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on this item? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Those abstain? You, one. All right, so that'll be, and then Talia, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All right.
I meant recuse and I said abstain.
Oh, thank you for that correction.
Caught it and I just missed it. Thank you, Claire. Meant recuse.
All right, next we have Nuestro Mundo contract. I move that the Board of Education approve the charter contract renewal for the Nuestro Mundo Community School set forth in the documents for the May 20th, 2024 regular meeting for a term of 5 years beginning July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2029. The contract will be edited and formatted, but no substantive changes will be made before it is signed.
Second, Maya.
All right, any discussion on the contract? Yes, Board Member Muldrow.
I just want to express my excitement that Nuestro Mundo continues to be a part of our district. I want to thank them for the work that they're doing, and I'm excited to vote in favor of the renewal of their charter.
Thank you. I have one question. And I might not have read it as closely as I needed to. But when when the board approved the charter a few months ago, and we were told that then the contract would be developed, one of the things that Nuestro Mundo had talked about was wanting to try out the IB. And I'm just wondering, is there a reference to the IB? I saw a lot of references to dual language immersion, how they'll use their kind of professional development days. And I wasn't sure if the IB curriculum was specifically called out in the contract or if it is not mentioned. So I don't know if there's somebody who can answer that question. Okay.
So just to thank you for your question and say,
I'm not-
I think part of the board's approval of IB for Nuestro Mundo was based on the fact that we were told it would be no cost to the district. And so I guess ensuring long-term that that maintains a consistent part of how the district was able to support that. I guess I'm curious if that's not embedded in the contract somewhere, how we kind of follow up on the commitments that have been previously made and spoken to around that. Yes, so the board voted in favor of IB for Nuestro Mundo after being told that it would be zero cost to the district. And I plan to enthusiastically continue to support IB for Nuestro Mundo. But the detail that is that will be of no cost to the district is important. And so ensuring that we maintain kind of a consistent relationship to the information we had when we made that decision feels relevant if it's not codified within the contract. I'm curious how we ensure that component or that detail of the relationship to IB.
So as
Can you guys hear me? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think is that for me? Go ahead, Josh.
And regarding the question about IB showing up in the contract itself in 4.02, we don't necessarily call out International Baccalaureate Program. However, you can see there the work related to thematic unit development and professional development. That is in reference to specifically to the work needed to become an international baccalaureate school.
All right, so to answer Ali's question, just as a reminder that Nuestro Mundo already secured to handle the costs associated with becoming an IB program. And that was part of what the board originally voted for in the very beginning. So that is already clear and understood.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Board Member Vander.
Actually, TJ, could you stay for 1 second? Because I have one more question. Just want to make sure that the attendance area doesn't change, everything else doesn't change. Just that the IB, once they achieve it, will be added, correct?
So everything is staying the same based upon a couple of conversations that we had. So no to the attendance was made the same. However, there were some waivers that were applied for that were not granted. And so we are working through those through DPI just to ensure that we are in compliance with them as well.
Got it. Thank you, TJ.
Just a quick question. Once sorry, y'all. Once the IB is approved, and some of the things that need to be worked out through DPI, the contract will come back to us to approve, or will we not have to?
No, so you would actually do is approve, or let me say this, vote on the contract as it is. And then as those things coming through, as General Counsel stated, we would bring you an amendment to the contract. So once IB happens, we will bring you an amendment to the contract. If a waiver is accepted, then we will bring you an amendment to the contract based upon the waiver.
Okay, thank you. It was just the process.
Yep,
Thanks.
no problem.
Appreciate it.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Talia, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All right, that passes 6-0. Thank you all. All right. Looks like we have no other old or new business. So,
So moved.
Board Member Vandermeul,
Second.
the motion to adjourn. Vice President Pearson has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Talia, how about your advisory vote?
Aye.
Great. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Have a